Letting go can make you unstoppable. Letting go can create the best of change for each and every one. In a world filled with constant striving, endless attachments, and the burden of expectations, the ability to release what no longer serves us is nothing short of transformative. But what does it truly mean to let go? Why is this concept at the heart of Buddhist philosophy, and how can mastering it unlock a profound sense of peace and freedom? In this video, we'll explore the 10 Buddhist principles that teach us how to master the art of letting go. Rooted in ancient wisdom, these teachings help us confront our attachments, those emotional bonds we cling to, whether they be to people, material possessions, or even our own identity. By understanding the meaning of detachment and learning how to practice it, we pave the way toward finding true happiness. Letting go isn't about apathy or running from life's challenges. It's about reshaping how we view the world. Attachments tether us to cycles of suffering, but when we detach, we free ourselves to live in the present moment, embracing life's impermanence with grace. Through the lens of Buddhist teachings, you'll learn practical steps to let go of what holds you back. Discover why clinging only amplifies pain and how releasing these bonds allows clarity, resilience, and serenity to emerge. By the end of this journey, you'll see that letting go isn't an ending, it's a beginning. A gateway to a lighter, freer, and more meaningful existence. Dive in and let's uncover the wisdom that can change everything. Let's start with Principle 1. Attachment is not about objects. Letting go is not about discarding objects or cutting ties with the people we hold dear. This misconception often triggers guilt or fear. Fear of loneliness, fear of being without. But what if I told you that letting go isn't about the external? It's about your internal relationship with attachment itself. Think of it this way: attachment isn't defined by the object or person, but by your clinging, your refusal to acknowledge the natural flow of life. As the Buddha taught, nothing is yours. It is to be used, not possessed. Attachments arise from a deeply ingrained desire for permanence, a belief that things, people, or feelings can and should last forever. But impermanence is the very essence of life. Seasons change, moments fade, and even we ourselves are in constant flux. It's this resistance to impermanence that breeds suffering. When we try to freeze the fleeting, we fight against the current of existence, exhausting ourselves in the process. Imagine holding water in your hands. You cup it tightly, but the tighter you grip, the faster it slips away. Now, relax your hands. You'll notice the water pools gently, staying longer than it ever would in a desperate grasp. This is the art of letting go, acknowledging impermanence and accepting life as it flows. Here's a practical way to start. Each day, take a moment to reflect on the transient nature of your relationships and possessions. That doesn't mean devaluing them. Rather, it's about seeing them for what they are, precious but not permanent. Look around you, the objects you hold dear, the loved ones who fill your life. Ask yourself, am I grateful for this moment, or am I trying to cling to it? Another practice is cultivating gratitude. When you see your relationships and possessions as gifts, rather than extensions of yourself, your connection deepens without the burden of ownership. Gratitude transforms attachment into appreciation. Instead of clinging to the fear of loss, you bask in the joy of having. Letting go, then, is not about severing connections or detaching from the world. It's about loosening the mental grip that binds you. It's about understanding that the beauty of life lies in its impermanence. You don't lose when you let go. You free yourself to embrace each moment fully, unburdened by the chains of possession. Let go of control. The need to control everything around us is exhausting. Think about it: the endless planning, the overthinking, the constant worry about outcomes. It's as if we're trying to bend life to fit our exact expectations. And yet, no matter how hard we try, life rarely follows our script. This relentless pursuit of control doesn't lead to peace. It leads to stress, anxiety, and frustration. As the Buddha reminds us, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. True serenity isn't found by controlling the outside world. It's found by releasing the need to control it altogether. At its core, control is an illusion. We may believe we can shape outcomes or avoid discomfort by holding on tightly, but life doesn't work that way. When we try to force situations or people to conform to our desires, we create resistance within ourselves and with the world. This resistance is the root of suffering. Imagine clutching a rope and pulling against an unstoppable force. The harder you pull, the more pain you feel. Now, imagine letting go of the rope. The tension disappears, and with it, the pain. Life flows naturally, like a river. When we try to control it, we're like a person standing in the water, trying to redirect the current with their hands. Instead of flowing smoothly, the water crashes against us, creating turbulence. But if we step aside and allow the river to run its course, we find harmony. Accepting uncertainty doesn't mean giving up. It means trusting the process and freeing ourselves from the unnecessary burden of control. How can we start letting go of this illusion? One powerful practice is meditation. Choose one specific expectation or desire, something you've been clinging to, and, during meditation, visualize releasing it. Maybe it's the need for a conversation to go a certain way, or a worry about an upcoming event. Sit quietly, focus on your breath, and imagine that expectation as a bird you're holding in your hands. When you're ready, open your hands and let it fly away. Notice the lightness that comes with surrender. Another practical step is journaling. Reflect on a time when you let go of control, whether intentionally or because life forced you to, and things still worked out or even turned out better than expected. Write about how that moment felt. Perhaps a project didn't go as planned, but it opened the door to an unexpected opportunity. Or maybe a relationship you tried to force eventually found its rhythm when you stopped trying so hard. These reflections reinforce the truth that surrendering control doesn't mean losing. It means creating space for life to unfold in its own way. When you release the need to control, you open yourself to the natural rhythm of existence. You stop fighting the current and instead float with it. In this surrender, you'll find a peace that no amount of external manipulation can provide. Letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's understanding that life is meant to flow, and we are meant to flow with it. Be gentle with yourself. We often approach the idea of letting go with unrealistic expectations. We tell ourselves, I should be over this by now, or why can't I just move on? And when the process takes longer than we anticipated, the inner critic grows louder, filling us with doubt and frustration. But here's the truth. Letting go isn't a switch you flip. It's a gradual, deeply personal journey. And like any journey, it requires patience and compassion, especially for yourself. As the Buddha wisely said, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Self-criticism, however, can be a major obstacle to detachment. It's hard to release old pain or habits when you're burdened by guilt or the belief that you're not doing enough. This harsh inner dialogue only strengthens the very attachments you're trying to loosen. Think of it this way. If you were carrying a heavy backpack and constantly scolding yourself for not moving fast enough, would that make the weight any lighter? Of course not. But what if you paused, adjusted the straps, and allowed yourself to move at a more forgiving pace? You'd find the journey not only easier, but also more fulfilling. Self-compassion is not indulgence. It's a cornerstone of emotional healing. When you treat yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a struggling friend, you create a safe space for growth. Forgiving yourself for holding on too tightly or taking longer than expected doesn't mean you're making excuses. It means you're recognizing that healing is a process, not a destination. Letting go is about progress, not perfection. One way to cultivate self-compassion is by reframing self-critical thoughts into affirmations of kindness. When you catch yourself thinking, "I'm failing at this," try replacing it with, "I'm learning to let go, one step at a time." Instead of, "Why am I still holding on?" remind yourself, "Healing takes time, and I'm giving myself the time I need." These small shifts in perspective can transform the way you approach your journey. Another important step is celebrating small victories. Did you forgive someone today, even just a little? Did you choose to release a minor frustration instead of dwelling on it? Did you spend a moment appreciating what you have instead of mourning what you've lost? These moments may seem insignificant, but they are powerful milestones. Acknowledge them, write them down, celebrate them. Each small step forward is proof that you are capable of change, no matter how slow it feels. The path of letting go is not meant to be harsh or punishing. It's a path of discovery, of finding peace in the present and freedom from the past. To walk this path, you must first be gentle with yourself. Because when you let go of self-criticism and embrace self-compassion, you create the space needed for true detachment. You're not just letting go of what no longer serves you, you're opening your heart to the person you're becoming. Recognize impermanence. Change is one of life's constants, yet so many of us resist it with every fiber of our being. We cling to what feels familiar, even when it no longer serves us, because the unknown is intimidating. The fear of change binds us, creating resistance and pain. But the truth is, everything in life is impermanent. Everything. As the Buddha expressed, this existence of ours is as transient as autumn clouds. To recognize impermanence is not to despair, but to liberate ourselves from the chains of clinging. Impermanence isn't a flaw in the design of life, it is the design. The seasons shift, rivers carve new paths, and even the stars change over time. This constant flux is not something to fear, but something to embrace. Resistance arises when we try to hold on to the fleeting, grasping at what was never meant to stay. Imagine trying to hold on to a handful of sand. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers. Accepting impermanence doesn't mean giving up on what you love. It means appreciating it fully in the present, without trying to freeze it in place. Accepting change doesn't erase pain, but it does help us build resilience. When we understand that life is inherently fluid, we become better equipped to face its ups and downs. Just as a tree bends in the wind without breaking, we too can learn to adapt and endure. Clinging, on the other hand, is like standing rigid against the storm. It only leads to suffering. By embracing impermanence, we move with life instead of against it. Nature offers us countless reminders of impermanence. Take a moment to observe the world around you. Watch as leaves fall from trees in autumn. Each one was once green and vibrant, a vital part of the tree's life cycle. And now, as it drifts to the ground, it makes way for new growth in the spring. This cycle is not a tragedy, it's a beautiful testament to life's impermanence. The leaf's journey is complete, and the tree's story continues. Another way to understand impermanence is by reflecting on your own past. Think about the changes you've experienced, the jobs you've left, the friendships that have evolved, the dreams you once had but no longer pursue. At the time, Some of these shifts may have felt like losses, yet many of them likely led to growth, new opportunities, or a deeper understanding of yourself. The pain of letting go is often followed by the joy of discovering what comes next. To begin embracing impermanence, make it a practice to notice the transient nature of everyday life. Watch the sun rise and set, feel the breeze on your skin, listen to the fleeting sound of laughter. Reflect on these moments, not with sorrow, but with gratitude. They are reminders of the beauty in life's fleeting nature. When you recognize impermanence, you stop fearing change and start flowing with it. You begin to see that each ending carries the seeds of a new beginning. In this realization lies the key to freedom, not freedom from change, but freedom in change. Allow negative emotions to flow. Negative emotions are a natural part of life, yet we often treat them as something to avoid at all costs. When sadness, anger, or fear arises, we push them down, trying to mask or ignore them. But suppression doesn't make these emotions disappear. It traps them, creating a storm of inner turmoil that grows over time. The Buddha wisely taught, "Pain is certain, suffering is optional. Pain is a given, but it's our resistance to that pain, our refusal to let emotions flow, that turns it into prolonged suffering." Negative emotions, like all things, are temporary. They arise, peak, and naturally dissipate if we allow them to. The problem begins when we cling to these feelings, whether by suppressing them or replaying them over and over in our minds. It's like holding onto a hot coal. You can't stop the pain by clutching it tighter. Letting go doesn't mean ignoring the coal. It means acknowledging it for what it is and releasing it before it burns you further. Acknowledging your emotions without judgment is the first step to letting them pass. Labeling emotions as they arise can help you observe them objectively. For example, when you feel anger bubbling up, simply note to yourself, "This is anger." When sadness washes over you, say, "This is sadness." By naming these feelings, you create a small but powerful separation between yourself and the emotion. You are not your anger. You are the observer of anger. This perspective shift makes it easier to let emotions flow without becoming overwhelmed. Suppressing emotions creates blockages, both emotionally and physically. These blockages can manifest as chronic stress, fatigue, or even illness. But processing your emotions allows you to clear these blockages and find balance. Imagine your emotions as water in a stream. When you allow the water to flow freely, the stream remains clear and vibrant. But when you dam the stream, the water stagnates, becoming murky and unhealthy. In the same way, holding back your emotions only creates more chaos within you. Journaling is a practical tool for releasing emotions. Writing down what you feel without filtering or judging your thoughts provides an outlet for those pent-up feelings. Let the page be your safe space. Write as if no one will ever read it. Describe your anger, your sadness, your fear. Be honest and raw. And as you pour your emotions onto the page, notice how the weight begins to lift. This act of expression helps you process and release emotions, rather than letting them fester. Mindfulness is another key practice. Sit quietly and focus on your breath. As emotions arise, don't push them away or dwell on them. Simply acknowledge them with curiosity. What is this feeling? Where do I feel it in my body? Notice how the emotion shifts and eventually fades, like a passing cloud. When you allow negative emotions to flow, you free yourself from the suffering of holding on to them. You give yourself permission to feel, process, and move forward. Letting go of resistance to your emotions is not weakness, it's strength. It's the courage to face yourself fully, knowing that no emotion is permanent and peace is always within reach. Give yourself permission to forgive. Resentment is a heavy burden, yet so many of us carry it for years, even decades. We hold on to anger, replaying old wounds in our minds, hoping it will somehow punish the person who hurt us. But as the Buddha wisely said, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. The only person truly harmed by your resentment is you. Forgiveness, then, is not about condoning the harm done to you. It's about freeing yourself from the chains of the past. When you forgive, you dissolve the emotional chains that keep you tied to pain. Resentment anchors you to old wounds, forcing you to relive them again and again. Forgiveness cuts that anchor, allowing you to move forward and reclaim your emotional freedom. It's a profound gift you give to yourself, a way of saying, I deserve peace more than I deserve to be right. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting what happened or excusing harmful behavior. It's about letting go of the anger and bitterness that weigh you down. Imagine resentment as a burning coal you hold in your hand, intending to throw it at someone else. The longer you hold it, the more it burns you. Forgiveness is the act of putting down that coal, not for the sake of the other person, but for your own well-being. Giving yourself permission to forgive is an act of self-compassion. Often, we resist forgiveness because we feel it's a betrayal of our pain or a sign of weakness. But forgiveness is not weakness, it's strength. It takes courage to face your anger, process it, and release it. By forgiving, you create space for peace and healing in your heart, where bitterness once resided. A practical way to begin this process is by writing a forgiveness letter. Take a moment to sit down with pen and paper and write to the person who hurt you. Express your pain honestly and without holding back. But instead of letting anger dominate, let the letter transition to forgiveness. Write something like, I release this pain and this anger. I choose peace over resentment. You don't have to send the letter. The act of writing is enough. It's about acknowledging your emotions and giving yourself permission to let them go. Another powerful exercise is visualization. Close your eyes and picture the resentment you've been holding on to. Imagine it as a balloon, filled with all the hurt and anger you've carried. See yourself holding that balloon, feeling its weight, its presence. Then, when you're ready, open your hand and let it float away. Watch as it rises higher and higher until it disappears from view. Feel the lightness in your heart as the weight is lifted. Forgiveness is not always easy, and it's rarely immediate. But each step you take toward releasing resentment brings you closer to freedom. You don't forgive because the other person deserves it. You forgive because you deserve peace. Letting go of anger isn't about the past, it's about the future you're creating. A future unburdened by pain, filled with space for joy, healing, and love. Detach from desire. Desire can feel like a driving force in life, but beneath its surface lies a hidden trap. The more we crave, whether it's material possessions, relationships, or achievements, the more restless we become. Each time we attain what we thought we wanted, a new longing arises, keeping us perpetually dissatisfied. The Buddha understood this cycle when he said, "Craving is the origin of suffering." It's not the desire itself that causes pain. It's the attachment to the belief that we can only be happy once we have what we crave. At its core, desire stems from a fear of lack or loss. We cling to the idea that something outside of ourselves, a promotion, a person, a new possession, will complete us. This clinging creates restlessness because it places our peace and happiness on something inherently impermanent. When we attach ourselves to desires, we're like someone chasing the horizon. No matter how far we run, it always stays out of reach. True peace lies not in fulfilling every desire, but in releasing the need for them altogether. This doesn't mean abandoning ambition or joy. It means finding contentment within yourself rather than depending on external circumstances. Letting go of craving uncovers a profound truth. You already have everything you need within you. Inner abundance is not something you earn. It's something you realize by letting go of the illusion of lack. One practical way to detach from desire is to practice gratitude. Take a moment each day to reflect on what you already have. It might be the love of a close friend, the beauty of a sunset, or the simple comfort of a meal. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's present, reminding you that joy exists in the here and now. The more you anchor yourself in gratitude, the less power your cravings hold over you. Meditation is another powerful tool for detaching from desire. Sit quietly and bring your attention to the present moment. Notice your breath, the sensations in your body, the sounds around you. As thoughts arise, whether they're about what you want or what you think you lack, observe them without judgment. Let them come and go, like clouds passing in the sky. With practice, you'll notice that the urgency of your desires begins to fade, replaced by a sense of calm and contentment. Detaching from desire doesn't mean you stop enjoying life. It means you stop letting your happiness depend on conditions. You can still appreciate beauty, savor experiences, and pursue meaningful goals, but without the constant fear of not having enough or losing what you gain. This shift transforms your relationship with life. Instead of chasing after what you think you need, you begin to embrace what is already yours. Letting go of desire is not about deprivation. It's about liberation. It frees you from the endless cycle of craving and dissatisfaction, allowing you to discover the deep and abiding peace that comes from within. In this freedom, you find a life of abundance, not measured by what you have, but by your ability to let go and simply be. Enjoy without clinging. Joy is one of life's most beautiful gifts, yet we often transform it into a source of anxiety. When we cling to happiness, we begin to fear its inevitable end. The mind starts spinning, asking questions like, how can I keep this feeling forever? Or, what if I lose this? And in trying so desperately to hold on to joy, we miss the very essence of it. As the Buddha taught, do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. True joy lives in the now, not in our attachment to it, but in our ability to simply experience it. When we attach expectations to joy, we set ourselves up for suffering. For instance, imagine a moment of pure happiness, spending time with loved ones, achieving a goal, or savoring a delicious meal. Instead of fully immersing in that joy, the mind often leaps ahead, wondering how long it will last, or how to recreate it. This mental grasping pulls you out of the present and into a cycle of dissatisfaction, turning the joy itself into a source of tension. But what if we could experience joy without clinging to it? Detachment doesn't mean rejecting happiness. It means embracing it fully while knowing it's transient. When you let go of the need to hold on to joy, you free yourself to savor life's fleeting moments more deeply. It's like holding a butterfly in your hand. Grasp it too tightly and you harm it. Let it rest lightly and you can appreciate its beauty without fear. Start by savoring the small, everyday moments of joy. Watch a sunrise, listen to a favorite song, or enjoy a cup of tea. Let yourself be fully present in these experiences, noticing the sights, sounds, and sensations around you. Practice simply being, without rushing to capture the moment or wondering when it will end. This kind of mindful presence transforms ordinary experiences into extraordinary ones, helping you connect with the simple joys of life. Another helpful practice is setting an intention to enjoy without clinging. Before engaging in a joyful activity, take a moment to reflect. Say to yourself, "I appreciate this moment for what it is," without needing it to last forever. This intention acts as a gentle reminder to stay rooted in the present, freeing you from the urge to cling to the experience. Joy doesn't have to be permanent to be meaningful. Its impermanence is what makes it so precious. Like a sunset that paints the sky for a brief moment, each joyful experience holds a beauty that's enhanced, not diminished, by its transience. When you let go of the need to keep joy, you discover that its true value lies in the here and now. Learning to enjoy without clinging opens your heart to life's richness. It allows you to embrace joy fully without turning it into a source of anxiety. In letting go of attachment, you don't lose happiness. You deepen your connection to it. Each moment becomes a gift, not because it lasts forever, but because you're fully present to receive it. Accepting change frees you. Resisting change is like standing in the path of a river, trying to hold back its flow with your hands. No matter how strong you are, the current will eventually push past you, leaving you exhausted and frustrated. We often resist change because it threatens our sense of control, but this resistance doesn't stop the inevitable. It only deepens our suffering. As the Buddha taught, all conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. The moment we accept the inevitability of change, we free ourselves from the false comfort of control and open the door to peace. Change is not the enemy, it's a teacher. Every shift, every transition carries with it the potential to teach us something about ourselves and the world. Whether it's the end of a relationship, a career change, or simply the passing of time, change challenges us to adapt, to grow, and to let go of the illusion that life can remain static. When we embrace change instead of fighting it, we discover an inner strength we didn't know we had, a resilience that allows us to navigate life's uncertainties with grace. Think about a time in your life when something changed unexpectedly. Maybe it was a loss that felt unbearable or an opportunity you weren't prepared for. At first, the change may have felt overwhelming, even painful. But over time, you likely found ways to adapt. Perhaps that loss made space for new connections, or that challenge forced you to develop new skills. Reflecting on these moments helps you see that change is not something to fear, but something to accept as a natural part of life's rhythm. Acceptance doesn't mean you have to like every change that comes your way. It means acknowledging that change is part of life, whether or not it aligns with your plans. By practicing acceptance, you let go of the struggle against what is and create space to respond with clarity and intention. One way to do this is by reminding yourself, this too is part of life. Say it to yourself when you're facing a difficult transition and notice how it shifts your perspective. Instead of seeing change as an obstacle, you begin to see it as part of the journey. Another practice is reflecting on how past changes have shaped you for the better. Write down moments of change that initially felt like setbacks, but later revealed unexpected growth or opportunity. For example, did a job loss lead you to a more fulfilling career? Did a challenging breakup help you discover your independence? These reflections reinforce the idea that change, while uncomfortable, often leads to transformation. Embracing change doesn't mean you have to let go of everything you care about. It means letting go of the idea that things should always stay the same. Life is a series of transitions, and each one brings with it the possibility of renewal. When you accept this, you stop clinging to the way things were and start flowing with the way things are. Acceptance is not resignation, it's liberation. It frees you from the exhausting battle against life's impermanence and opens your heart to the possibilities that change brings. By welcoming change as a natural part of existence, you step into a freedom that allows you to live fully with courage, resilience, and peace. The illusion of ownership. We often live with the illusion that the things we have, our possessions, relationships, even our accomplishments, truly belong to us. This belief creates a profound attachment, which can turn into an unbearable pain when those things are lost or taken away. Why? Because the human mind clings. It clings to the idea of permanence, of control, and ultimately to the illusion of ownership. But here's the hard truth. Nothing truly belongs to us, not even our own bodies. Think about it. The clothes we wear, the house we live in, the people we hold dear, they are all borrowed, fleeting moments in the grand tapestry of existence. As Buddhist teachings remind us, in the end, we leave all behind. What remains is the essence of how we lived. This wisdom invites us to release the grip of ownership, to see life not as a collection of possessions, but as a journey of shared experiences. Clinging to the notion of ownership doesn't just set us up for heartbreak, it breeds fear. The fear of losing what we hold dear tightens its hold on us, making it harder to live freely. Have you ever felt that pang of anxiety over misplacing your phone or the thought of a loved one drifting away? These feelings stem from an unspoken belief. This is mine, and I cannot lose it. Yet, what would happen if we shifted that perspective? If instead of clinging, we chose to embrace the truth that nothing is ever truly ours? By acknowledging the transient nature of ownership, we begin to lighten the emotional burdens we carry. Consider this. When we stop grasping so tightly, we make space for peace. Letting go doesn't mean losing. It means gaining the freedom to appreciate things fully for what they are in the moment they exist. How do we start? It begins with simplicity. Take a look at your surroundings right now. Are there items that no longer serve you, yet remain because of sentiment or the fear of needing them someday? Begin the practice of decluttering. Donate, recycle, or release what no longer adds value to your life. With each item you let go, you're practicing non-attachment, reaffirming to yourself that happiness is not tied to things. Next, reflect on the shared nature of life's gifts. When you look at something you cherish, a family heirloom, a job title, even a meaningful friendship, pause and think, this is here for me to experience, not to keep. This perspective doesn't diminish the value of what you have. It enhances it by freeing you from the fear of loss. Buddhism teaches us that life is a series of moments, each passing like a breeze. Ownership, then, is an illusion we create to give ourselves a false sense of stability in an ever-changing world. But imagine if we replace that illusion with trust, a trust in impermanence, in the beauty of experiencing something without the need to hold it forever. Doesn't that sound lighter? Doesn't that feel like freedom? When we let go of the illusion of ownership, we unlock a profound truth. We were never meant to hold on to everything. We were meant to live, to love, and to release. What we leave behind isn't measured by what we owned, but by how deeply we allowed ourselves to truly live. Train your mind. The mind, left untrained, can feel like a restless ocean, waves of thoughts, emotions, and attachments crashing uncontrollably. It clings to fleeting desires, recoils at imagined fears, and creates a false sense of permanence in an impermanent world. And the result? We become prisoners of our own minds, bound by the chaos of its undisciplined nature. But there is hope. A trained mind is not a storm, but a calm lake, reflecting life with clarity and peace. It sees things as they are, not as our fears or desires distort them. As the Buddha taught, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. This profound insight reminds us that the quality of our lives is determined not by what happens to us, but by how our minds perceive and respond to those events. An untrained mind reacts. A disciplined mind observes. Consider how often you've found yourself overwhelmed by a single thought, a memory, a worry, or even an impulse. It spirals, growing stronger with every passing second. But imagine if, instead of spiraling, you could pause. Instead of reacting, you could choose to let that thought pass, like a cloud drifting across the sky. This is the power of mental discipline, the ability to step back, observe, and let go. The first step to training the mind is mindfulness. A focused mind reduces emotional reactivity, allowing you to detach from fleeting thoughts and see life's impermanence with greater clarity. Mindfulness doesn't mean suppressing emotions or avoiding discomfort. It means meeting each moment with awareness and acceptance. Through this practice, you begin to recognize that your thoughts and feelings are not you. They are simply experiences passing through you. Start small. Dedicate just 5 to 10 minutes each day to mindfulness meditation. Find a quiet space, sit comfortably, and focus on your breath. As thoughts arise, and they will, acknowledge them without judgment, and gently bring your focus back to your breath. Over time, this practice creates a gap between you and your thoughts, a space where you can observe without becoming entangled. Another powerful tool is the mantra, I am not my thoughts. I am the observer of my thoughts. Repeat this to yourself when your mind feels overwhelmed. It serves as a reminder that you are not defined by your mental chatter. You are the one watching it. This shift in perspective is transformative. It allows you to detach from thoughts that no longer serve you, freeing you to live with greater ease and presence. Training the mind is not a quick fix. It's a lifelong practice. But with each day, as you cultivate mindfulness and detachment, you'll notice a profound change. The noise of the world becomes quieter. The grip of fear and longing loosens, and you begin to live, not as a slave to your mind, but as its master. The mind is everything. Train it well, and it will show you the path to peace. Let it wander, and it will lead you into suffering. The choice, always, is yours. Enjoy without clinging. How often do we hold back from fully enjoying the beauty of a moment because deep down we fear it will end? This fear, subtle yet persistent, whispers that if we embrace joy too much, its loss will be unbearable. And so, instead of experiencing life's gifts completely, we cling to them, trying to freeze them in time. But clinging doesn't protect us from loss. It diminishes the very joy we're afraid to lose. The truth is, joy becomes deeper, more profound, when we release the fear of its loss. When we stop clutching at moments, we give ourselves permission to savor them fully, as they are, in their fleeting perfection. Buddhism reminds us that detachment is not that you should own nothing, but that nothing should own you. This isn't a call to avoid joy, but to engage with it differently, to enjoy without clinging. Clinging creates limits. When we attach ourselves to a moment, a feeling, or even a person, we set conditions. This must stay for me to be happy. But life doesn't work that way. Everything changes, seasons shift, people grow, and moments pass. By clinging, we block ourselves from experiencing the full depth of life. Instead of immersing ourselves in the present, we become trapped in anxiety about the future. What if it goes away? What if it changes? These questions don't just rob us of peace, they rob us of joy. Letting go is the opposite of avoidance. It's an embrace. When you let go of the need to control or cling, you open yourself to the beauty of what's here, now. You can admire the colors of a sunset without mourning the moment it fades. You can feel the warmth of laughter, without fearing the silence that follows. Joy becomes richer, not because it lasts forever, but because you allow yourself to be present for it. One way to practice this is through gratitude. Each day, take a moment to notice the small joys around you, the sound of birds in the morning, the taste of your favorite meal, the smile of someone you love. Say to yourself, "Thank you for this moment." Gratitude shifts your focus from scarcity, the fear of loss, to abundance, reminding you that joy is not something to hoard, but something to appreciate. Another practice is to acknowledge the temporary nature of joy, not as a loss, but as part of its beauty. When you experience something wonderful, take a breath and remind yourself, this is temporary, and that's okay. Instead of trying to hold on to the moment, let it wash over you like a wave. Feel it fully. Then, when it passes, let it go, trusting that more waves of joy will come. Enjoyment without clinging is not indifference, it's freedom. It's the ability to immerse yourself in life without fear of its impermanence. It's a way of saying yes to the present moment, knowing that its transience only makes it more precious. When you stop clinging, you don't lose joy. You discover it in its truest, most profound form. Let go of expectations. Expectations can feel like a roadmap, guiding how we think life should unfold. We expect kindness in return for our efforts, success from our hard work, and understanding from those we care about. But what happens when reality takes a different turn? Expectations often lead us to disappointment, resentment, and even a sense of betrayal. This suffering doesn't come from the situation itself, but from the gap between what we hoped for and what is. The wisdom of Buddhism reminds us, do not expect others to fulfill you. Fulfillment comes from within. This simple truth challenges us to see the world differently, not as something that should meet our demands, but as something we can meet with openness and resilience. Letting go of expectations doesn't mean abandoning hope or effort. It means freeing yourself from the weight of needing things to happen a certain way to find peace. Expectations, by their very nature, create unnecessary suffering. They tie our happiness to external outcomes, which are often beyond our control. Think about a time when a friend didn't respond the way you hoped, or a goal didn't unfold as planned. How much of your pain in those moments came from what actually happened, and how much came from your expectation of how it should have been? The truth is, expectations don't shield us from disappointment, they magnify it. But when we let go of expectations, we open the door to acceptance and surprise. Without rigid demands on how life must be, we can see opportunities we might have missed and find beauty in the unexpected. Imagine showing up for a conversation, not expecting someone to say or do anything in particular, but simply being present with them. You might discover a new perspective or a moment of connection that's deeper than anything you could have planned. Start by replacing expectations with intentions. Instead of saying, "This must happen," try, "I hope for this, but I accept what comes." Intentions allow you to move forward with purpose while staying adaptable to life's natural unpredictability. This shift helps you focus on your actions and attitude, things you can control, rather than outcomes that you cannot. Another powerful practice is reflection. Think back to a time when you let go of an expectation and something surprising happened. Maybe a cancelled plan led to a quiet moment of rest you didn't know you needed. Or perhaps releasing your grip on how someone should behave allowed you to see them as they truly are, deepening your relationship. These moments remind us that life has its own rhythm, often bringing gifts we could never have anticipated. Letting go of expectations doesn't mean you stop dreaming or striving. It means you no longer tether your happiness to a single outcome. It's about meeting life as it is, not as you demand it to be. When you release the need for control, you don't lose hope. You gain freedom. You discover a resilience that allows you to move through life with grace, finding fulfillment within yourself, no matter what comes your way. Find freedom in non-attachment. Emotional cravings and mental attachments are like invisible chains. They bind us to cycles of longing, frustration, and dissatisfaction. We attach to outcomes, people, possessions, and even ideas of how things should be. But have you noticed? The more tightly we cling, the heavier these chains become, dragging us deeper into a state of unease. We believe that if we just hold on tightly enough, we can keep happiness from slipping away. Yet, the harder we grasp, the more we suffer. Buddhism offers us a profound alternative, the practice of non-attachment. As the teachings remind us, non-attachment is the path to wisdom and inner peace. Non-attachment is not about pushing life away or becoming indifferent. It's about living with balance and clarity, freeing ourselves from the delusion that we can control or own the impermanent. It's about walking through life with open hands, appreciating every experience without clinging to it or fearing its end. Think of it this way. When we attach too tightly to anything, a relationship, a goal, or even a personal belief, we lose our ability to see it clearly. Instead of experiencing life as it is, we live in a constant state of comparison, always measuring reality against our expectations. True freedom comes when we release these attachments and allow ourselves to fully embrace the present moment, not as a means to an end, but as an experience in itself. Non-attachment is a practice, not a switch you flip overnight. Start by observing your daily thoughts. Where do you feel stuck or overly invested? Perhaps it's a recurring thought about what you should have achieved by now, or a deep longing for someone to act a certain way. Identify these areas of excessive attachment and ask yourself, why am I holding on so tightly? Awareness is the first step toward letting go. Once you've identified these attachments, practice mindful detachment. Repeat to yourself, this moment is enough. This simple mantra reminds you to ground yourself in the here and now. It shifts your focus from what you want to control to what you can appreciate. By living in the present moment, you'll find that joy arises not from possessing or clinging, but from the freedom to simply be. Letting go isn't about loss, it's about rediscovering yourself in the flow of life. Each time you release an attachment, you make room for peace. Each time you let go of a craving, you create space for contentment. And each time you step back from clinging, you move closer to your true self, a self unbound, unburdened, and free. Start small. Take one step today. Choose one principle, whether it's observing your thoughts, practicing mindful detachment, or simply saying, this moment is enough. Letting go is not a single act. It's a way of life, a series of choices that gradually free you from suffering. And with each step, you'll feel lighter, stronger, and more connected to the essence of who you truly are. In letting go, you will discover your greatest strength, freedom. Freedom to live without fear, to love without conditions, and to embrace life without demands. This is the art of letting go. If this message resonates with you, like and share this video. Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear how you're practicing these principles. And don't forget to subscribe to Deep Wisdom for more inspiring Buddhist insights on living a peaceful life.